Let's begin tonight in Japan, where Super Typhoon Hagibis has officially taken out the All Blacks. In the past hour, World Rugby has made an unprecedented decision to cancel 2 Rugby World Cup pool matches as Tokyo braces for the Typhoon on Saturday. The All Blacks' final World Cup pool match against Italy in the city of Toyota, about 300 kilometres from Tokyo, is officially off. France's final pool game against England has also been cancelled. Now, the cancellations mean the 4 teams will get 2 points each and both games will be considered a draw. Rugby World Cup boss Alan Gilpin told media while the decision was difficult, the safety of players and fans is paramount, as the Typhoon is expected to also cause mass disruption to public transport. He said relocating the games was not an option.
The Pool B match between New Zealand and Italy in the city of Toyota will be cancelled. The Pool C match between England and France at Yokohama Stadium will be cancelled. As you can imagine, the decision to cancel these matches has not been taken lightly and has been made with the best interests of team, public, tournament and volunteer safety as a priority, based on the expert advice and the detailed information we have available. We've been intensively working through a range of detailed contingency options in partnership with the host cities, the venues and the teams to try and ensure that any impacted matches had a fair chance of being played. However, the risks are just too challenging to enable us to deliver a fair and consistent contingency approach for all teams and participants, and importantly, to provide confidence in the safety of spectators. All fans with tickets to those cancelled matches will receive a full refund. We are, of course, continuing to review Sunday's matches and making every effort to ensure that they will be played as scheduled. A thorough assessment of the venues will take place after the Typhoon has passed before a final decision is made on Sunday morning. Based on the advice of the government authorities and the experts, World Rugby and the Japan Rugby 2019 Organising Committee are advising all fans in the Tokyo, Yokohama and City of Toyota areas to stay indoors on Saturday, not to travel, and to keep monitoring the Rugby World Cup 2019 digital and social channels for further updates.
Rugby World Cup boss Alan Gilpin speaking a short time ago. Now, as mentioned, Scotland's do-or-die match against hosts Japan on Sunday at this stage is still going ahead, but could still be under threat. A decision on that game won't be made until Sunday morning. Well, joining us now from Disneyland Tokyo, where the All Blacks were due to hold a press conference to name their team for Saturday, is our sports reporter Joe Porter. Joe, the All Blacks, this must be pretty disappointing for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They were set to name their strongest possible side for this Italian clash in Toyota, of course, as they look to build towards next week's quarterfinals in the knockout stage and peak for that game. So, yeah, bitterly disappointing for the All Blacks. I guess it removes the risk of any of their star players or key players being injured in their final pool game, but it leaves them well and truly underdone heading into the quarterfinals, almost 2 weeks off between their last game and that first knockout clash, and they will be very, very disappointed that they don't get to have a good run against Italy, put in a strong and commanding performance and set their rivals on notice while picking their strongest team. The flip side, yes, they don't get any injury scares, and I guess there's no chance of picking up any red or yellow cards as well, which could lead to suspension. So some silver lining to those clouds.
So should more time have been built in? So, if there were disruptions like this, that the games could be replayed, postponed and played?
Yeah, I mean, you would think that as a fan looking in, wouldn't you? I mean, absolutely disappointing, not only for the teams, but all the fans that have booked tickets to these games. There may well be All Blacks fans over here in Japan that only got that game in the ballot to go and see their team play. So you would think so. However, this tournament is almost 8 weeks long, as it is one of the longest tournaments in the world in terms of sport. And they do have backup days for the knockout stages of the game. So I guess just logistically in a length of time situation made it quite hard for them to do. But you do wonder if they could have had earlier in this tournament foreseen these typhoons coming. It is typhoon season here, and had backup venues on hand for the games to be played. But I guess when you think about the logistical nightmares with public transport being down possibly because of the typhoon, it was all just in the too hard basket. So disappointing, but not terribly surprising given the length already of this tournament.
So who are the All Blacks likely to face on the 19th of October when they finally get their next game?
Yeah, that is the million-dollar question, and if I knew the answer or could predict that, I would be able to retire, that's for sure. Look, all three teams, Scotland, Ireland and Japan in Pool A, have a chance of qualifying top or second in that group. All three of those teams in any form or combination of them too as well. So I'm not a code breaker, but that must be a fair amount of different sort of outcomes there. Look, Japan, if the Japan-Scotland game is called off, Japan will qualify top of their group regardless of what Ireland do against Samoa on Saturday. Therefore, Japan would play South Africa in the quarterfinals and New Zealand would likely play Ireland. But however, if Scotland and Japan game goes ahead, it's all on. Any team could qualify top. Scotland could still qualify top. Japan could qualify top. Ireland could qualify top. But if things stay as they are, or if Japan win that game, or if the game is called off against Scotland, Japan would qualify top to play South Africa in the quarterfinals. New Zealand, the All Blacks, would play Ireland. England would play Australia, and Wales would play France.
Interesting, Joe, because we have actually been making kind of a flow chart this afternoon with all those options on it, and it is as complicated as anything. So Scotland really are the ones who will be biting their nails, won't they? Because, well, there's a lot riding on this for that team.
Yeah, Scotland, absolutely. They need this game to go ahead to have any chance of making the quarterfinals. If the game against Japan is cancelled, they get 2 points each, like you've mentioned, for a draw. That means Scotland miss out on the quarterfinals. So they'll be desperate for this game to go ahead. I know their coach and team have been putting as much pressure as they can on World Rugby to have this game go ahead. And I've heard that they may leave it till even 6 hours before the match to determine whether it goes ahead. And it possibly could even be played behind closed doors, such as the nature and I guess, so much riding on this game as to who goes through and who doesn't. So it could even be played behind closed doors with no fans if both teams agree to that and World Rugby see fit. It really is a huge ramifications for Scotland. Japan won't mind, of course. They'd top their group if the game is called off. But, yeah, Scotland will really, really be biting their nails and hoping, fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything that this game goes ahead in Yokohama because it is in the direct path of this typhoon and it's on the Sunday. So really, really, really tough times for Scotland. You've got to feel for them. Imagine being knocked out of a World Cup simply because you didn't get to play because of a typhoon. That would be a real heartbreaker.
Hey, so what are the All Blacks going to do for a week? They're staying in Disneyland, are they?
Look, we're not sure yet. I'm about to find out as we go into this press conference. I would assume that they're not going to go to Nagoya because that would be against the advice of all the Japanese agencies telling the fans and teams not to travel anywhere during this typhoon. So you would assume they stay in Tokyo, likely at the Hilton here at Disneyland, before, of course, figuring out who the quarterfinal opponent is, and then they will move to another hotel in Tokyo, perhaps the same one or perhaps where they were before, a bit closer to the centre of the city. So I imagine they'll just be holding tight like the rest of us, battening down the hatches for Saturday. I doubt very much they'll go to Nagoya. Disappointing for the city of Toyota as well, of course, down there, to miss out on having the All Blacks in their town, but I imagine they'll hang tight in Tokyo. Probably some more hard trainings, but you're looking at a situation where they've got almost 2 weeks before their next game, so it may well turn into the sort of reminiscent of what was down in Beppu, where they were doing a lot of hard training, a lot of physical training against each other, just to try and keep themselves, at the right edge, the right peak, heading towards the knockout stage. You'd much rather have a game only a week away because, that's the way they typically build up to test matches. This 2-week break could really throw a bit of a spanner in the works, but I assume they're going to stay in Tokyo, and I will be able to find that out in just a short amount of time.
Thanks, Joe. That is Joe Porter joining us there from, Disneyland. Must feel a bit like Fantasyland now that all of this is up in the air with the games. And as mentioned, Joe is heading to that press conference with the All Blacks, and we'll check in with him again after that a little bit later in the program.